White people did not only confirm it, but they are coming wide for their fellow white folks. Now, why? Because they have realized that Black people's struggles should not just be overlooked. The stories you're about to watch or the clips you're about to watch are clips that are actually going to wow you. Because honestly, when I saw this particular clip, I began to ask myself some questions like, a lot of people will just sit down there and open their wide mouths to say that Black people do not deserve every single thing that is coming out of America. You can imagine a white man saying that the only thing that Black people deserve as reparation is for them to live in America. Then I ask myself questions like, which of the American are you talking about? Are you talking about the American that was built on their sweat? Are you talking about the America that belongs to the Black folks, or which of the America? Probably there is a different American. I do not know about that, right? But let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit belongs to original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. I want you guys to watch this video episode by episode and drop me your honest opinion, especially as a Black person, especially as a Black American person, because I wonder why these people are coming with all of that thought of, oh, slavery was in the past, oh, Jim Crow was in the past. Why we still have the traumatizing a lot of people still living in this generation, as at this particular moment of me filming this video, and as at this particular moment of you seeing this particular video. So how do we just forget about every single thing like that? Watch and let me know what you think in the comment section. Anyways, let's go.
If slavery never happened, then you would be in a grass hut.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we need reparations. Your reparations are that you get to live in America. You're welcome. You're welcome.
You get to have the Christian religion.
That's
live
right.
better than your ancestors.
The greatest
ever
moment in history for any brown or Black country is the moment that the white man's ships arrive on your shore.
Let me tell you about what Black people suffered through after those white men's ships arrived on their shores. They got hundreds of years of enslavement, oppression, abuse, torture, murder, rape. Not only did Black former slaves get nothing after emancipation, President Andrew Johnson, a white Southerner, he made certain that white enslavers were made whole. Reparations, but not for former slaves, reparations for rich white slave owners. After the Civil War, Blacks were kept poor, systematically poor, and with almost zero ability to grow wealth. Thousands of Black prisoners were leased by Southern states to former white enslavers in what were called convict leases, where Blacks, again, worked for free while white men made themselves rich again from their labor and upon their broken backs. There were also sharecropping, which grossly exploited Black work ethic while allowing the former enslavers to maintain their power and to continue to grow their wealth, their white wealth. Again, ultimately passing that on to future generations of their white descendants. Of course, during this time, there were also Jim Crow laws in place all over the South, which made it illegal for Black Americans to occupy the same spaces as whites. Hospitals and bathrooms, private buildings, elevators, phone booths, restaurants, water fountains, everything that was white, which was everything, was off limits for Black Americans. Black Americans. Jim Crow laws also intended to force Black people into indentured servitude, to limit their voice in the political system by stripping away their constitutional rights to vote, and to control where they live. It was the American legal system explicitly designed for oppressing them. You know this though, Joel, right? So tell me, Joel Webbin, your goofy little sidekick maybe, or anybody else for that matter, Black people should be thankful? Thankful? America wasn't a different nation back then. In so many ways, we are the same country, making the same mistakes, abusing the same peoples, reinforcing those same old traumas.
This immigration drama that we have right now is only possible because we don't understand our own history. As a country, and particularly those of us of European descent, we have lied to ourselves about how we got here and for what reason. See, Black folks know why they're here. Native peoples know why they're here and how they got here. A lot of Asian folk know, particularly if they're Chinese American, they know they got here because their ancestors were brought over to work on the railroads by the railroad barons who didn't care if thousands of them died laying track 19, 20 hours a day. But for those of us who are from Europe, we have this fiction that we've told, and we believe it, even though there's no truth to it. You know what the fiction is? It's two parts. Number one, we say things like, with regard to Mexicans coming over the border, with regard to immigrants coming over, but only that border. That's the only one we care about, right? The southern border. I find that interesting. We're not flipping out about Canada, right? We only care about that one border, forgetting for a minute that that border was created at the end of a war that was started on false pretense by this country, after which we jacked half of their country. And you weren't taught that in school either, because our history books aren't interested in telling the truth. They tell this very patriotic history that has no relationship to the fact. So that border is artificial. Mexican folk who are coming here, documented or not, let's be clear, are coming home. Their families were here before our families were here in almost every instance. But we forget that, and then we say things like, well, I don't mind them coming. I just want them to come legally like my people did. The hell does that even mean? Come legally? There was no law to break when our people came. The fact that we didn't break a law that didn't even exist, you don't get cookies for that. You don't get like a pat on the back and a gold star because your great, great, great whatever was law-abiding when there was no law that he could have violated, even if he wanted to. But we've told this lie that we came for these upstanding principles. So we'll say things like, well, you know, our people came for liberty and freedom. These people are just coming for stuff. They're just coming for jobs. They're just coming for health care. They're just coming for stuff. We came for high-minded principle, right? Because we believe that. What kind of third-grade version of American history is that, right? Like when Donald Trump says, well, Mexico's not sending their best. What the hell, you think Europe sent their best? Our people were the losers of Europe. The winners didn't get on the boat. You understand what I'm saying? The winners didn't leave. Why the hell would you leave if you were winning? Only the losers left because they had no choice. They were dying. They were starving. They couldn't support their families.
What's your name?
My name is Charlie Matkins Sr.
Okay, now tell me your story one more time.
We lived back in the days. We made $37 a week from sun up to sundown chopping cotton for Mr. Charlie. That was the white man's name. And they went to the grocery store. They bought our grocery. They added to the bill. My mom and daddy had 13 kids. Wasn't but one of us born in the hospital. My grandmother was a midwife. She delivered all us. And Mr. Charlie was the man that they gave us a place to live because we had 13 kids. And they gave us a place to live because they didn't charge it. But one thing about it was nothing but forced slavery. They paid us $37 a week at the end of the week.
And they took money out of that $37?
No, they just paid us $37 a week for working. That's
Oh,
all we
okay.
made.
Oh, wow.
And then at the end of the year, they went to the grocery store, and when you're farming with them for 60-40, they went to the grocery store and they bought your grocery, and they added to the bill, and your price wouldn't match up with theirs at the end of the year. So what they did, they would tell my daddy, say, Jim, you almost come out of that, Jim. I tell you what we're going to do for you, Jim. We're going to roll it on the next year crop. My daddy go away scratching his head and smiling. The next year come with the same thing. And when my grandmother gave my daddy and his brothers and his sister, they could build a house down on Whitesburg Drive on Weatherly Road, that's when progress started coming. And we went to council training school right down here from Alabama A&M. It was a feeder school for all blacks to go to before integration. They had colored and white on the doctor's office when you went in there, and you was not able to drink out of the white fountain, you had to drink out of the black. And then at the end of the year, we had commuted by bus, and we stood out on the side of the road 1 hour waiting on the bus to come. But God saw fit to let us live through that. And I spent 46 and a half years in the grocery store. I spent 29 years and 5 months with Bruno's and Food World and Food Max and A&P. And I got grandfather on my job, and these jobs don't have it anymore, everlasting benefits. And when I die, my checks will be rolled on to my wife, and they can't steal it or take it. That's what grandfathers here can do for you. They don't have that anymore.
Wow.
Everybody but Jesus did.
Wow.
80 years old this coming November.
And you still driving? You got your mind? You doing well. You doing well. God bless you.
I got a doctor for everything. I take my medication. I don't deviate. I give God the praises. I'm just a
Yes,
servant of the Lord. He gave me more than what I need.
Sure did. Praise God. And nice talking to you, and you have a good one. But you got greens, purple herb peas, and it's some of that red okra up there left too.
The day before yesterday, I didn't know they had planted them because this is what I come last year, but I'm gonna get some more. My wife cooking them up, putting them in the freezer.
I'm gonna freeze mine too. Did you get some of that squash?
I didn't get.
I didn't either. You know what I'm saying? I guess we waited too late for that.
So we had all that We had to eat it. They told you eat it or else.
And when I was a kid, I didn't like it. But it's funny though, the stuff that you and it's not that I wasn't introduced to it. I just didn't like it. I wanted junk food. But now I love it.
That's good for you. That's nutrients that you
It sure is.
keep on giving God the praises. Okay.
You too.
God did it all. He got everything we need. I got a daughter graduating, a granddaughter graduating next year from Spelman College in May. She got all the Masonic Lodge scholarship, Alabama A&M Council Training School met up, and she graduated from Sparkman High School 2021. They presented her with a $2,600 scholarship. She got all the District 16 and 17 scholarship, and she got the Masonic Lodge scholarship at Mobile, and she's graduating from Spelman College with a degree in psychology and science, and she made the A and B honor roll, the dean's list, and she'll be graduating next year.
Wow.
Thank you,
Wow.
God, for it all.
I know God didn't let you see all of that.
Let me see, and I'm still living.
Yeah, and
80 years old next month.
God bless you. All right, you have a good one, okay? Thanks for talking to me.
What's your name?
Jamila. Yeah, yep.
What's your name?
I'm not from here. It's Jamila Milam. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee originally.
You have
I'm pretty sure,
his name was Ira Joe Miles.
and
He
I
was in trouble, he went to prison. He was helping
let me let him by. Can you get by?
He was helping him with when he got out of prison. He came back and he kept all man of the
Well, let me go. These people blowing. You have a good one, okay?
And I'm telling you, folks, right there, how white folks got so rich. The untold story of American white supremacy. I mean, I just read about the Indian land grab, and I'm like, my gosh, man, good Lord. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth. No wonder we don't want to teach the truth. Because that means we've got to look people in the face and say, our forefathers were the worst people in the history of mankind. The things that they did, that manifest destiny, that kind of mentality has been atrocious. What we have done to the African Americans. The estimated number of wealth that came from slavery, from free labor, and that's what it was. And they estimate that the amount of money that came from slavery was around $24 trillion. You can't even grasp that much money. The average person has a hard time grasping what $1 billion is. $1 trillion. Holy shit. And a lot of people don't want to admit the truth because a lot of people also are scared that what happens if we actually do have to maybe pay reparations. Understand that everything, that beautiful Capitol in Washington, D.C., was built by slave labor. The majority of the churches in this country were built by slave labor. Our forefathers were lazy. And if they were smart, which they were, but the problem was they were cunning. It's sad. And I'm telling you, folks,
they will be getting their land back because white people are becoming more and more the minority as the years go on. They say by 2045, whites will be completely the minorities because a lot of the old people are going to die off. People like myself aren't having kids because of the economy. There's actually more interracial relationships nowadays. So kind of in a way, white people will kind of go extinct of the American soil. And that's what Trump's plan, the Zionist plan, is to destroy the economy is there a plan to have the indigenous people go away and make it more white? That's why he's bringing over the South African white people over here, all that stuff. Is they want to wipe out the indigenous people, but it's actually backfiring because the whites are going out. And the indigenous people are actually having more children than the whites. So yeah, they're eventually going to get their land back without having to do a thing.
Every white South African is racist. Every single one. Including you. Including me. We were born into a racist country, raised by racist systems, taught by racist textbooks, and disciplined by racist norms. Unless you've been consciously deprogrammed, that requires pain, effort, and education. You are still operating from a racist framework. Having black friends doesn't erase your racism. Voting for black politicians. No. Sleeping with someone of another race? Still racist. Whiteness isn't just calling someone a slur. It's the silent belief that whiteness is neutral and everything else is different. I don't see color while bleaching your hair and contouring your face. You see color just fine. You just don't want to deal with what it means. The entire education system would collapse overnight if we taught the truth. Apartheid wasn't resolved and whiteness is still centered. Your skin color isn't the problem. Your silence is. Your comfort is. Humanity expresses itself in shades, and racism denies that expression. South Africa, we're still living in the lie.
When white people in the United States balk at the idea of paying reparations to black Americans who descended from slaves, they disagree with the Bible. Reparations are a form of compensation or restitution made to those who have suffered injustice, particularly those in cases of racial inequality, discrimination, and slavery. The idea of paying reparations to black Americans is not a new one. It has been a topic of discussion for decades, if not centuries. However, it has gained renewed attention and support in recent years, following the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement and the growing recognition of systemic racism in American society. As a Christian, I believe that reparations are not only a matter of justice and equity, but also a reflection of God's character and values. In the Bible, we see numerous examples of God's concern for the oppressed, the marginalized, and the downtrodden. From the Israelites' liberation from slavery in Egypt to the ministry of Jesus among the poor and the outcast, we see a consistent theme of God's love for those who are on the margins of society. One of the key biblical principles that underlie the idea of reparations is the concept of restitution. In the book of Leviticus, we see God commanding the Israelites to make restitution to those whom they have wronged. Leviticus 6:1-5 says, "If anyone sins and commits a breach of faith against the Lord by deceiving his neighbor in a matter of deposit or security or through robbery, or if he has oppressed his neighbor or has found something lost and lied about it, swearing falsely in any of all the things that people do and sin thereby, if he has sinned and has realized his guilt and will restore what he took by robbery when he got it by oppression or deposit that was committed to him, or the lost thing that he found, or anything about which he has sworn falsely, he shall restore in full and shall add a fifth to it, and give it to him to whom it belongs on the day that he realizes his guilt." This passage emphasizes the importance of making restitution to those who have been wronged, and not just restoring what was taken, but adding to it as a form of compensation. This principle of restitution can be applied to the issue of reparations to Black Americans who have suffered centuries of enslavement, discrimination, and systemic oppression. Another biblical principle that supports the idea of reparations is the concept of Jubilee. In Leviticus 25, God commands the Israelites to observe a Jubilee every 50th year, during which all debts are forgiven, all slaves to be set free, and all property to be returned to its original owners. This was a radical idea of economic justice designed to prevent the accumulation of wealth and power in the hands of a few, and to ensure that all members of society had equal access to resources and opportunities. The idea of Jubilee can be seen as a model for reparations in that it seeks to address the root causes of inequality and oppression rather than just treating the symptoms. By forgiving debts, freeing slaves, and returning property, Jubilee seeks to create a more just and equitable society, one in which everyone has the opportunity to flourish. As a Christian, I believe paying reparations to Black Americans is only a matter of justice and equity, but also it is a reflection of God's values and character. Through the biblical principles of restitution and jubilee, we see a model for how we can address the historical and systemic injustices that have plagued our society for far too long. While the issue of reparations is complex and contentious, I believe that as Christians, we have a responsibility to seek justice.
If you have any further doubt how racist and anti-Black the United States of America is, just bring up the topic of reparations for Black Americans, individuals who are descended from enslaved Africans. And all of a sudden, you're going to get a lot of hemming and hawing. That's just not possible. That's too expensive. That was so long ago in the past. Black Americans need to move on. There you go. There are those Blacks asking for a handout. Reparations must be paid by the federal government of the United States of America if this nation is to be anything other than fake bullshit. Even if this current smotsy regime is toppled, if reparations are not paid to Black Americans by the federal government and many state governments, this nation will always be bullshit. Because chattel slavery is one of the foundational sins of the United States of America. And all of this other shit that gets talked about in terms of what reparations mean to Black Americans, I think is bullshit as well. I'm going to be quite frank with you. I agree with Nicole Hannah-Jones, who spearheaded the 1619 Project. In my book, reparations for Black Americans would be in the form of direct cash payments. Because anything else is still the United States of America exerting control over Black people. We are grown. Pay us, period. Pay us cash money. And whatever we decide to do with it, that's our damn business. Well, Black Americans, we're going to commission a study and we're going to see, fuck that. But this government needs to do is make direct cash payments to the descendants of the enslaved. Payment for a debt that is long overdue. For the people that say, ooh, you're asking for a handout. Black people always have their handout. Fuck you. It's payment for a debt for all of the labor that we went through for hundreds of years that built this nation into the economic power that it has been. Period. If you want to talk about handouts, then you go over to all of these white farmers that are begging for the government to bail them out yet again. Because somehow white farmers were supposed to be guaranteed a livelihood. Again, if you want to see anti-Blackness rear its ugly head, mention reparations for Black Americans. All of these other so-called programs that they're calling reparations, that's not reparations in my book. Well, we're going to give Black people mortgage down payment assistance, and we're going to give them job search assist. That's not reparations. Reparations is you getting a check, Black American man, Black American woman, from the federal government. And we know that the federal government can print money because just 5 years ago, the global pandemic happened and the United States federal government printed money to keep the citizens from completely going under, and everything rocked and rolled just fine. People took that assistance and they paid their bills to make sure that they had a roof over their head, a car, transportation, their health care. food, and everything else that they needed. But it was the Republicans that decided, well, people just don't want to work. And that ended that. This nation will always be bullshit until financial reparations in the form of direct cash payments are paid to Black Americans. And to the Black Americans who disagree with me, they say that it is a handout and they don't want it. Fine. Don't take it. I'll take your portion.
Good morning to white people who believe in reparations. Remember that your interactions are currency, so just watching this video to the end really helps me. Going to the search bar, typing Goth Watch Band, watching at least one video from the results, and then coming in and leaving a comment about it would be great. Thank you so much. My name is Jay Shauna, the Last Poet, and I am an activist on this app who has raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for people in need, both domestically and abroad. The last year on this app has been very tough for me in a lot of ways, and very recently I lost my job. Before I lost my job, I was already raising money for some legal fees and also for some dental fees that I have been trying to recoup. My campaign is at about 50% right now on Ko-fi. That is also where I house some of the receipts for some of the payments that I've made and some of the fees that I've incurred. And it would just be really helpful if people could support me. I made the choice, I think, this week to really take a break because my mental health is like suffering. And I feel like I'm trying to push through, and I'll have like 2 good days and then like 5 days of just not being able to do anything. And I think I really need to like listen to my body and like while I'm not working and like looking for jobs, like I have a phone interview in a little bit. I need to really focus on just like resting and healing, and so it would be great if people could help me do that. I feel kind of bad because I've had to drop a lot of projects that I've been working on, but at the same time, like I cannot, as they say, pour from an empty cup, and the cup is not empty. The glass is shattered on the floor, and I am pouring by like putting my hands in the puddle and then like doing like this. That's how I'm pouring right now. So, thanks, guys. Bye. Goth Watch Bands.
Let's talk about reparations. In response, my video does not absolve the U.S. government from paying reparations for 400 years of slavery, genocide, and Jim Crow. Class dismissed.
You know who got reparations after Black people were freed from enslavement? It was the enslavers. The white enslavers were the only one who got reparations. They got $10,000 per person. And that's $10,000 like back then. Like I can't even think about it. Imagine how much money that was in 1865. Because $10,000 is a good chunk of change right now, right? And if I owned 10 people and then they were released, well, shit, that's $100,000. Black people generated over $24 trillion for this fucking country that is now in the hands of these white folks. They didn't build that shit. They didn't earn that shit. We built this shit. They made money off of us. All the Britain, France, the United States, they made money off of us. This is our shit. We built this fucking shit. The White House, Yale, Harvard, you know, that's money from my ancestors. That's blood, sweat, and tears. We are literally buried in these grounds, along with the natives who they stole this land from. $24 trillion they generated, and we haven't seen a goddamn penny of it. And instead, they paid our enslavers $10,000. It makes me fucking emotional. $10,000 per person that they enslaved and held hostage. Meanwhile, when we were freed, we didn't get shit. We were promised 40 acres and a mule. It was the Sherman Act. 40 acres and a mule, so we'd had some land, so we'd have an animal, so we could start our lives. They didn't give us anything. There was nothing for our mental health after watching people be tortured and our family members being ripped apart, being hung, being whipped. There was nothing for healing our spirit. There was nothing for reconnecting us to our cultures. There was no money. There was no resources. We were freed to die in these goddamn streets, free to be harassed, free to be lynched. Because you know what develops right after we were quote unquote freed? The fucking KKK. Fuck this country.
It's time to speak up. I have been involved in the criminal justice system since 1997. I've been a prosecutor and I've been a defense attorney. And if anyone out there thinks that our criminal justice system is blind to the race of the person in front of it, it's because you've had zero experience with the criminal justice system. I can tell you from personal experience that if my client that I'm representing is black or brown, I have to work twice as hard to make sure that their rights are protected. And even then, with all of the efforts, they generally get harsher sentences than a white client who is charged with the exact same thing. So all of you that are out there saying, well, there's more black arrests because they commit more of the crimes, shame on you. But thanks for at least letting your racism be on full display so we know who we're dealing with. Go out there and love your neighbor, especially today, your black and brown neighbors, because I promise you, they need it.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching those clips. Now, where are the people that said that black people do not deserve reparation? Where are the people that said that black people did not deserve freedom? Because as far as I'm concerned, we are still in the modern day slavery. As far as I'm concerned. Did you hear from the story of that man, how they were working and getting just $37 for a family of 13? If you did not hear very well, please go back and rewatch this particular content. Now, you can imagine a white man saying that the reward of reparations to black Americans is for them to live in America. Like, how does that sound? It sounds stupid to me as far as I'm concerned. It sounds so stupid, to be honest. Because if you check what black Americans have been able to go through from generation to generation, you don't even come on your podcast to sit there and say that trash. And I'm happy for some white folks that are actually coming out to air out the honest truth. Why black folks deserve reparation, despite the systemic racism and every other stuff that has been hitting on them so badly. Why black folks need to be compensated. For crying out loud. How do you pay the enslavers and leave the slaves alone? How do you come up here to say these are things of the past? We should forget about the past, where the past is still hurting the present. How do you make it make sense to me that even the people that you enslave, they still have their descendants currently alive? And what makes you think that slavery has gone long time ago, that we do not need to talk about it again? It is even more annoying to see some black folks coming out to be like, we don't need reparation, nobody needs to be talking about reparation, and so on and so forth. If reverse was to be the case, do you think that these white folks will look at black folks and tell them that they don't need reparation? White folks would have fought every single fight for them to be able to get reparation if reverse was the case. Look at each story and each clip that I actually played for you with every single thing that black folks have been going through, even if it's not for anything. Would reparation be bad? Would compensation be bad? Because after every single thing that they've been able to go through, still, they are not exercising their full right as far as I'm concerned. Still, they still have people that have the white privilege. Still, they're not enjoying welfare as supposed. Still, every single thing that is supposed to make the nation great is being tagged and followed by the said white folks. And you're telling me, sitting down there and saying that black people do not deserve reparation? I don't know how this is actually sounding to some people. Maybe some persons actually think that black people are actually asking for what they are not supposed to ask for. But on a serious note, they are asking for what they are supposed to ask for. They are asking for what belongs to them. They are asking for their rights. They're not asking for too much. And if you're still there as a black person and you're still blindfolded by, oh, let's forget about this reparation and move on, where do you move on to? Where the past still keep hurting? You can see some white folks coming out here to air out the opinion how every single wealth was actually stolen east, west, north, and south from the black folks. For how long do we keep quiet where they beat us? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Credit belongs to the original creator of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. This is just for educational purposes. We do not support any form of violence here. With that being said, with no further ado, I'm going to be saying bye and I'll see you guys in my next one. But just be honest with me in the comment section. Do you think black people deserve reparation or not? I just want to hear from your own opinion. Bye for now.